This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Find great deals faster.
Hello and welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. This podcast is designed by real people on their journey to achieving financial freedom, and we'll focus on people who've either already attained it, who are joining us on that journey, or maybe a specialist topic that can help you build your technical knowledge to achieving and maintaining that financial freedom. We hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Today, we're doing one of our 6 rounds with topics where we're interviewing somebody who is either on their journey to financial freedom or has already achieved it. Today's guest is a personal friend. He's sponsor and his company is sponsor of the podcast episode. And to many people, he, especially if you're doing deals in property, he'll be already known to you. You've probably already seen his face. He's the self-proclaimed everyone's favourite Frenchman. Depending on how many French people that you know, of course. However, in fairness to him, he is my favourite Frenchman, and he's also the CEO of the fastest growing software company in property. And I'm just going to give these stats from here, just because I think they're phenomenal. It already has 1,400 members plus. It's been used up and down the country, and he's done over 1,000 deals through the platform. We use it day in, day out, and you'll hear that in everything that we do. You'll hear it in the interlude, Stop the Podcast interlude. However, as an individual investor, he's also been investing since 2013 in France, since 2018 in the UK into the property market. He's also an award winner. He won Property Entrepreneur of the Year in 2021 and Advanced Property Entrepreneur of the Year the year after. So he's probably got nothing left to talk about because I've given everything, but a huge welcome to today's guest, Guillaume Black.
Thanks a lot for having me. Always a pleasure.
And can we just comment on my pronunciation of Guillaume, please?
Well done.
It is spot on, right?
You know, I get called all sorts of things.
Guillaume?
Yeah, Guillaume.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I don't get offended anymore.
It doesn't. The way you spell it out isn't the way it's pronounced at all, though, is it?
No. Yeah. But so is many things, like, you know.
So we always
true a lot in the English language is like that as well.
Yeah, so we always start with an icebreaker and an interesting fact, and we argue about. So the interesting fact that you've not seen, so this is the bit that you haven't seen, is that we did together in 2021 and 2022 a charity event.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Where we were on the board of the charity, and we raised over £150,000.
Yeah.
Which sounds all great, but it was an absolute nightmare. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Tell me your experience of it.
Yeah, the hardest things I've ever done. So it was, get up, give back. So there's kind of it's well organized. There's supposedly a blueprint on the back of it.
This is part of the Property Entrepreneur Program. It's the Get Up, Give Back charity, and we were the charity.
And I think it was my second year doing the program, and then I got so much from the first time, because the way it works is most people are afraid of doing sales. Most people are afraid of putting themselves out there and asking. And when doing the charity stuff, you're the first person who's going to let yourself down. So when you do it for charity, all of a sudden you do the run every day, you do the walks every day, whatever it is you commit into, just from the accountability of doing the stuff. But then when it comes to fundraising, you got to bloody ask, So doing this for charity really taught me that, you need to raise your profile. There's basically a difference between sales and marketing. So people need to be aware, and then you need to move them into a place where they got an expression of interest, and then you can ask them. So doing this for charity, I got this, it's like de-inhibited from the old thing, what if they say no, and all the stuff people tell themselves.
I find it's a lot like raising funds for a property deal. Yeah. Isn't it? Because you're raising your profile, you're getting yourself out there, and at some point you've got to either ask for the funds or talk about the funds in some way to raise it.
But it's one thing talking about it or learning about it on the course, and it's another thing raising 100 and
executing, isn't it?
Executing. So this was really powerful. I found for me, especially the first year, to actually unlock myself to actually do all these things and ask, practically, and then things I got in, from my property deals, and then into Property Filter, etc. So this impacted me quite a lot. That it's why I sort of volunteered for the board and said, it's a great thing. Yeah. I think I said things like, I would do Property Entrepreneur if it was only for doing the charity challenge, because the practicality of doing things is so valuable.
Well, you did condensing everything that you're learning apart from doing a business and hitting your annual target and sales and marketing into a 3-month timeline.
Yeah.
In effect, you are starting with 0. You have a target to hit.
That's
You've
right.
got 3 months to do it, and it's just go.
But then actually running the thing
Yeah.
was like the hardest thing I ever done. The hardest thing, like on every day, and then
Your role was, I'm going to say your role was harder than mine. So I was head of fundraising, but I had mainly motivated people trying to raise funds.
yeah, you're like
Yeah, cheerleader, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
But yours was data-based, and therefore you had all of the
and chasing
people.
chasing everyone. So basically,
Tell me your steps.
It's all things like you treasure what you measure, right? So people need to know where they are, So people are not really aware or well they're doing or not well. They need to be told, So it's why, like, I guess you do the same, where you've got some KPIs in your business, and the best thing about the KPIs is when you do it, don't do it yourself. So you got someone else to bring them to you every week, every month. Like, you get someone else to do your management accounts and things like that. So it's similar things. People need to say, oh, you're not on track with your steps. You're not on track with your physical challenge. You're not on track with your fundraising, or you're on track, and then organizing little cohorts and challenges and lots of things. But just these. Mainly the admin of the data collection was just horrendous.
Yeah, chasing people for steps.
Herding cats.
Herding cats, I love that. I love that analogy.
So that was horrendous.
Lovely. Well done.
I hated it by the end, but very good. Happy with it.
I've adopted a lot of the things from that process into the business.
Definitely.
100%. So.
Yeah.
Right. So moving on to the full question. I probably stole a bit of your question, which is it's the same question for all guests. Tell me your story.
Right. So I'm coming from a small village in France. First one gone to uni on my family in the village.
From the village?
Yeah, from the village, yeah.
Nobody from the village had been to uni before.
I don't think so. Probably, but not that I know.
How many people in the village?
500.
All right, wow.
Yeah. So proper, and a very humble, beginning and stuff. Like, mom's a care worker, dad's a teacher, and I don't know. I think I got lucky. There's a lot of, you can look back into your life, and lots of time you have like those little crossroads, and I remember like quite a few of them, and somehow got into this, and then it got me into that, and I just got lucky to have the insight of having the opportunity to have the decision and taking the right there, and I guess it was just maybe academic came easily, and I just said, oh, what else can I do, and I was encouraged to do well at school, right? So, but very like not particularly stimulated by creativity and activity or anything. I was I just followed, for a while, and then I went. I was very practical. I always like concrete stuff, building stuff, and I went to.
I liked concrete.
Like concrete, like like not like concrete step, but like maybe doesn't like concrete stuff as opposed to abstract stuff.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. I thought you just said I like concrete. I know you became an engineer, I love concrete.
Real things is what you say.
Yeah.
Rebars and shit.
So you prefer maths to art, is what you're talking about.
Yeah,
so prefer something that can be measured, something that can be practically put into place, rather than
but I guess
you have to imagine.
It's the build. I like the build. I like the progress.
Okay.
I like to at the end of the day, the wall is higher than it was at the start of the day. So I like
see the progress happening.
I like like concrete progress on stuff, and I'm very much a builder in that sense. And so I kind of realized my some childhood dreams I didn't really know I had, and I went to build on some like world record big bridges around the world. First job in Russia, then moved around the world a few times, but at a huge cost. I spent 10 years basically working 15-hour days, 15 days in a row, zero life balance, but an incredible work ethic. And because they were like prestigious projects and things, like they were queues of people who wanted my job, so, and then the culture was always quite competitive. So I always got my boss's job until I didn't want my boss's job, right?
That is such a thing though, because I was the same, climbing the corporate ladder. Yeah. It must be better at the next level. It must be better at the next level, and you get to as far as you're going to go, and you just go, it's not got any better.
I like that sentence. I always got my boss's jobs until I didn't want my boss's jobs.
Yeah,
Until you worked out there was another way of doing it, another way of life.
But I'm really grateful because they taught me a lot, like the traveling. Like I had a really cool. My 20s were like on planes and living in Istanbul and North America, like all over the place. I think I moved.
And you did specifically your job role. At the core was what?
It was very much the building part, like building the team who's going to build the bridge part. Yeah. So, and we were specialist subcontractors. So
you're a consulting engineer, design?
No, like delivery.
Right, okay.
Yeah, delivery. So yeah, I qualified I had a master in engineering, but interestingly more in like mechanics and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I went into the bridge because the bridges and because it was concrete. Yeah. It was outside. there's no like, it's not a sausage factory where at the end of the day, you're like, what the fuck have I done today, right?
Yeah.
So it's very much, at the end of the day, it's a step closer to being complete, and things like that. And I love the people side of it. So I really love you're building the team, and then it's putting everyone in the same direction. And I think my fondest memory was we're building this, which is still the biggest bridge in its type in Istanbul, between Europe and Asia. And I would speak French to my boss, English to my Turkish engineers, Spanish with the Spanish guys who didn't speak, supervisors. A bit of Russian I've learned in a previous job with the Polish guys who didn't speak English as well. And I would know the names of the tools better than the Turkish laborers they found somewhere, some village,
Yeah.
So I was just like this people person thing. And then I really didn't like that. And then you grow in the company, and your role is less and less delivery, more and more commercial and stuff. And I started
Managerial.
really, especially in the UK. I think it's the UK because there's so much of you say about consultant engineering and things like that. Other countries, it's more like there's a client and there's a builder,
Okay.
And here there's like all of these other parties, and it's like there's just a lot of things, consent, and lots of things that need to happen. And I this was not what I signed up for. So although I'm very, very grateful for the career, the support, and the mentoring I had, it was amazing. I started crying on my way to work. Like it wasn't really like for me anymore. Like
That's rough.
Yeah.
That is rough. Yeah.
So then it takes a while because again,
The in-car moments. I can relate to in-car moments as well.
Yeah.
Where I'm sat in the car going, I don't want to do this.
Really dreading doing something.
Yeah.
So what year was this then?
that'd be probably 2019, 2019 really.
So pre-COVID. So you had the mindset shift pre-COVID.
But then you lied to yourself for a while.
Yeah.
And then it took I think COVID and the first year on Property Entrepreneur to learn job.
And there's always good days and bad days, aren't they? So you've had that moment in the car and like.
Yeah, but I've had it every day for a good year and a half,
Right,
And then, but you lie to yourself because you say, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this property thing, but really you're not, right? So it took me a while because again, I talk about, my sort of background and social worker, mom, teacher, dad, and like entrepreneur stuff is not in my blood, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of muck I had to dig through, and I'm quite grateful for, learning journaling and property entrepreneur and things. So I found it was quite therapeutic in a way where because I think quite linearly, it's like one thing after the other, and this allowed me to like jet my thoughts and then think about my thoughts, jot my thoughts, think about my thoughts, and then you peel a layer, and then you can think about what you think about your thoughts, and then so this is what I got from the journaling there, and then you realize that, and then I was quite rough with myself.
Were you already doing that? Is that just because of the journey when you joined the entrepreneur program?
Yeah. So
at that point you started journaling.
I was interested in it. I think, but I never really got the discipline or the tools to actually do it properly.
Exactly the same.
I never did any sort of journaling or what we call cave time until I joined Property Entrepreneur and learned that was a real thing, and it was a privilege to do it.
Absolutely. And now I'm just journaling.
Yeah.
I'm doing stoicism and I'm journaling and I'm doing cave time separately. Which is a complete change to.
But I like getting it, and I don't know like you, but I really just want to put it into a plan. So you spend all that time doing it, and I was like, how does that actually merge into something that gets somewhere?
What's your wealth profile?
The wealth dynamics?
Yeah.
Can you guess?
Accumulator.
No.
Go on.
So you're not creative.
No, I'm a star.
Star.
Yeah,
there you go.
So I guess are you a star?
I am,
creator.
Creator star. Yeah.
I'm a steel lord, so a bit different.
But so I'm a star with like 10 years of like engineering pushed into me, So there's the system, organized star thing, right? So.
Yeah, and if everyone's not done wealth dynamics, by the way, I would recommend you go and find out what your creator profile is. We'll probably do a session on
Genius Use the company. Roger Hamilton.
We probably will do a session on why it's so important. It's the most impactful thing that I've
get an expert guest on it. That's a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get Jill,
Yeah, good idea. Jillian, if you're listening to this, please reach out. We'll have you on the show.
Well, she's done two for one of my mentees.
Great.
Last week, actually.
Yeah, she's really good.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, we broke your flow there.
Not sure what we were talking about.
So you talked about you joined the Property Entrepreneur Program. You haven't looked back really.
Yeah. So I started property before that because I had this realization that there's got to be more to this. Like this is going nowhere.
Yeah.
But really, I didn't have much of a plan, and I was lying to myself for a few years. And then it's like, okay, it's like you have to commit to these things for it to work.
Yeah.
And that was it. So then I did property quite well, but took us a while to get results. So when we started, you go to the seminars, you read the books and stuff, and it seems like, oh, it's great, it's all gonna be great and easy, and you go from this uninformed optimism to this valley of despair where you go, oh, there's no deals out there, nothing stacks, and you're like, oh, they're all lying to me, and then everybody goes through a bit of that.
How do I raise money and all that?
It's like especially about the deals for us, and then because we were doing a lot of like randomly scrolling through like the likes of Rightmove and randomly showing up at properties where the vendors didn't want to do a deal, right? And I'm like, what the hell, nothing, there's no deals out there. And then it took us a good 18 months of achieving very little, and we had a bit of a experience, buying flats, barn conversions in France from before.
Right. Yeah.
So we didn't come to this with like zero knowledge of bricks and mortar, especially the refurb and things, and so we couldn't make it work. We couldn't find the deals, and then it took us a good while to say, okay, what works? And again, the engineer in me and the partners involved in Property Filter and in the property portfolio, we went, so what are the truths here? What are the nuts and bolts of this thing? What makes success in property? And we started to go, so because we did a lot of networking, we would always arrive early, speak with the hosts, speak with the speakers, cheekily invite people on a coffee, and then when you're the first one to ask on the night, usually they say yes, and they've got nowhere to go, right?
Great advice.
So we're really, really cheeky, and we spoke to all these successful people in property, and like, what makes you successful? And we were just on this journey, like we just sucked the knowledge out of all of these people who were kind enough to go out with me, like, and then if you really squeeze it down to the truths, it's like, and that's we call them the property success axioms, like within the Property Filter frameworks. And it's one, your ability, all your success in properties are downstream from your ability to find great deals. You can't like forever just like buy
100%,
right?
Yeah.
So
the whole mastermind program, which is the PIN environment mastermind program, starts with square one, which is find motivated sellers.
There we go. That's it. And that leads me to.
And then it's how you find the motivated sellers. Is
exactly right. So then it was lesson number 2 is that, property is a people's business.
Yes.
And what this means is the property market is full of irrational actors. So if you're looking for the data and stuff, the data will just give you average performance of an area, but really you want the above performing assets. And the way you find this is by engaging with those people who are more motivated. And motivated because of different circumstances, it shows in different clues and different ways. But really what you want is people who are flexible on price and so you can give them better terms or things like that.
Yeah, flexible on price, but want certainty on sale and trustworthiness and things like that.
That's right. So all your success is downstream from finding deals. The deals are bought from motivated sellers. Property is a people business. And thirdly, property is very much a numbers game. So you've got a double entendre here where you can think about, stacking the deals and things. I see this very obvious. For me, it's a given. But what I really mean here is the deals are in the follow-up, right? So most people are out there say, oh, I couldn't find a deal. There's no deals out there. All right. So how many viewings have you done? Oh, well, do you mind me asking how many offers have you done on these viewings? Like, it's nothing. Of course, nothing stacks at asking price, right? So the problem is we're taught in this Amazon, I call it the Amazon generation, right? So you go online, and it's Amazon, but it's also hundreds of other things. You go online, the price is the price, you add to the cart, check out, and it's delivered to your door next day,
Yeah.
So everybody wants it today, but it's not how property works, So first, you need to trim down the amount of opportunities you look at. So you only speak with like the more motivated sellers.
Yeah, the right sort of criteria, the right areas with the motivated sellers.
Yeah, that's right. So if I go, everybody wants to direct to vendor deal, but everybody's doing direct to owner marketing. So you are spending money to send letters to people on the basis that they have a house, right? And most people are not selling their house today, right? So it's like, and the clue is in the name. It's motivated and sellers. So it's finding people who are likely to sell. And amongst this population of people who are likely to sell, they are the ones who will want to do a deal because of their circumstances. And the approach with this is become a problem solver. Don't expect to find deals. Like expect to make deals happen.
Yeah.
Right? And you do this by adding value. It's win-win. It's all the stuff we know about solving people's problems, and you create the value for the marketplace.
And I think you touched on it before, but the numbers and the accuracy of the numbers and being confident in those numbers can help you, really work out what stacks up.
And knowing your numbers, but knowing that somebody else has done something, say you get done over on a deal, as an example, because somebody's offered higher, and knowing that doesn't stack. That's probably one of my most favourite, I'm going to do a deal here moments.
Because I'm knowing that they might not be the right buyer for the deal, because we get that all the time, that it's a property that's not mortgageable, needs a lot of work, might be subsidence, and it's a first-time buyer that's been accepted,
that's right.
but it's never going to go through.
Give it to a ridiculous price to some people who don't know what they're doing. Then it goes into legals, and they're like, "Oh, what do you mean? It's not mortgageable?" It's like, duh, But then this is where the follow-up comes in, because then you're the first one to call them. You position yourself as the problem solver in your area, and then they call you.
It's absolutely no problem that you're going to go with that. I would do the same if I was it, because it's a good offer at a high level. I don't believe it's going to go through for these reasons. Do give me a call as soon as this happens, because I do believe it's going to happen, but I do understand why you're doing that. And next thing, send them a letter to back that up. Within a month, ring. Survey says no.
I actually
are you still
enjoy
interested?
our discussion sometimes, because we'll put an offer in for something, and Nick or you'll be like, "Oh, it's been rejected at X price," and I'm like, "That's okay, just put it in the follow-up." Just thinking in my head like, "Okay, it's going to be a deal at some point."
And you guys really embody this methodology, because we studied success and then we build it on top of property filter and things like that. And we, I love speaking with you because we speak the same language. Like, we speak about what works, and exactly as you say, most people are like, "Oh, I'm struggling to get my offer accepted." It's like, this is not the aim of the game, right? As you said, it's like, "Oh, not accepted. Let me, patch it up."
We know we can go up to 155K for that property, so we can go up to that. If not, go to the follow up.
And I think with you, what's cool is you got a lot of certainty about the build cost, because you always, the best way I think to be good at understanding build cost is doing a lot of refurb, because it's just this dichotomy learning of
and then understanding all the other costs, the finance fees, the other fees, and then the difference between whether it's financed or cash funded is important as well, because same property, same build cost, very different result depending on the
it's funny because we're obviously client development project managers. We get deals that have fallen out for us where we made offers and we say this has been rejected, that the person who's bought it, because of our reputation, brings that to us after they bought it and says, "Can you do me a build cost?" And we're like, "We can, but here's the build cost." And then they're thinking, "Oh my goodness, that's way too high." And I think, well, that's the build cost.
And our prices are competitive because we do so many. So it's not that we're high. It's just that's actually what it's going to be.
It's a funny game, but I think if it's understanding is the mindset, as we said, about expect it to be rejected, position yourself for when it falls through. The more complex the property problems, the more likely it's going to fall through. So you want to be positioning yourself there and then just follow up.
And sometimes it depends where that vendor is on the motivation journey or scale. If it gets accepted then and there, it's because you've called it at the right time and they are motivated to go now. Whereas sometimes they're just not quite there yet because they haven't had a sale fall through because they don't realize the structural issues.
It's a matter of time. So I find, we find a lot of people are, they're just addicted to the right move alerts. They want to be the first one, But the thing is, if we're looking for motivated sellers, right? So put yourself in the shoes of the seller. It took you 3 months to decide you finally want to sell the property. Maybe with circumstance you have other parties to coordinate with. You go on the likes of Zoopla, you ask for a valuation. These are actually lead magnets that goes to agents. Then you get 3 to 5 agents to come and outbid each other to get your business. And then it goes on to the right move alerts, type thing. So week 1 you get, first of all, you went with the agent that give you the ridiculous price because they just want you to sign the mandate. And then week 1 you get 10 viewings because everybody's reacting to the alerts. Like, wow, my property, I knew it was the best in the world, but they confirm it's the best in the world, So then time is your next best ally, to make it, because the more they'll be exposed to the market, the reality of low offers, low interest, sales falling through, cost, sell falling through are just great, because especially when people sell a property for the first time and they accept an offer, they think that's it, They go and tell their mates at the pub, it's done in their head, they already spend the money, right? And then it falls through 3 months later, 4 months later, 6 months later. They're back at square one, And then the market's not getting any better.
The first thing I look at when we go on a property and property filter, I just hone into the graph and I go, right, green, red, graph dropping. Yep. All right, good. Let's go.
Yeah, so it's the whole premises of that is understanding these are the signs. So the way Property Filter works, and you'll know it really well. Is
I feel like we've moved into Property Filter a little bit. So I'm going to try and bring us back to your journey.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it, but it's very much about there's something odd here, and then it's our job to go and find out like what's the scenario behind.
Yeah, what's happening there?
I think it's fair to say that period of time in your life where you were frustrated at not finding deals, is probably, if you reflect on it, one of what will be your life's most defining moments. Because you've created something as an engineer to solve that problem. So when I was in Mastermind, box 1 was find motivated sellers.
That's right.
And my entire journey was, how do I get before that box then? What do I need to do to get to that box? And I was sending letters and doing lists and stuff like that. And then Property Filter rocks up, and it was like, well, that's how you do it. Right? This is how.
But also, we would talk to the vendor and find out what the motivation is. So in those discussions, it would be like, the sales fallen through, it's been on the market too long, and all those sort of things. But Property Filter gives you that info.
I now know.
So what do we find ourselves before that? You randomly do these viewings. You randomly have these conversations. Yeah. You can't exhaust your area from the motivated sellers because it's hit and miss,
Yeah.
And the idea with this is like we started to do 10 times fewer viewings. Yeah. We started to send 10 times fewer letters, but then the conversations we're having with people were just like 10 times more interesting than the average we had before. So it's just a very targeted approach, So
100%.
And okay, and that brings us forwards to today. So you joined Property, you then joined Property Entrepreneur. You were having this problem with deal finding. You then created this system. Yeah.
So we created it kind of in a similar. 2019 or something, so before Property Entrepreneur, but we were really immature about it. It was like people ask us about, can you build yourself, build your own, like why are you asking me? We're really, really immature. When you say we had to grow as entrepreneur, we didn't realize. And I think we had a call with Daniel Priestley, and he talks about everyone sitting on a mountain of value, and at the time where P is talking about the wealth hierarchy, the cash flow, profit, assets, and I'm like, shit, I've done all my HMOs and things all the way around, what am I supposed to do? And I need to create like a lettings business or some sort to do the cash flow. And
don't say that's a bad idea.
No, it's okay, but it's like, what is unique to what is in your flow? What are you good at? And then so Daniel Priestley goes, you're all sitting on a mountain of value. Like, what is unique about you can bring to the marketplace? And sometimes we are so close to our own, flow, so close to the things we're really good at, we don't value them. And then I was trying to look for setting up some rent-to-rent businesses or some management businesses over there. The new thing, new is always great, right? And then I forgot we had this thing, and people were asking about it, and we told them no. Okay, so again, I had a bit of a realization there, and then it's where we then started to build it in a way where other people could use it, because it was so clunky, only I could use it.
I think Daniel Priestley, for listeners, is a really good person to follow for this sort of
thing. I only know the name. I've got to be honest. I've heard he's been mentioned 100 times, but
you can borrow some of his books off me, but
you should have brought them to book club.
He's a really nice guy as well.
No, I've heard a great...
And an Aussie, by the way.
Is he? There you go.
I was going to say you're biased.
But yeah, he does. He talks about your industry and just being the key person in that industry. So like you said, it doesn't matter what it is. You can be famous, even if it's only a few hundred people in that industry. If you're the famous person, you add so much value to all those people.
It's not necessarily about fame and things, but yeah, he's got a lot of frameworks. So my head is squares and triangles and quadrants and layers and things. And I like people with good frameworks, and he's got some really cool ones there. So yeah, recommend the read there.
Yeah, nice. I'll look into that. So now here we are. You've done this thing. You turned it from a spreadsheet to a functional technology business, and you've hit this 1,400 plus members, launched paper valuation, which is incredible, by the way. Paper valuation, of course, it's, you can't go and spend it. People don't understand that. You don't get the money overnight. So you've created this business in effect. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse it with question 2, if it's good. I'm going to move into that because that's where we are right now. Is in question 2, which is sort of moves on from where you are, which is, what is financial freedom to you, and where are you on that financial freedom journey?
So I'm not a big fan of the term financial freedom. So I know we're
Good guest for the podcast.
I know
absolutely. Yeah.
I know we're on the Financial Freedom podcast, and
That's interesting. Tell me why though, because I'm interested in why you don't like that term.
So I don't like the idea that I think freedom has got a lot of baggage with it. So it's like it's freeing you from where you are, and I think it's making people believe that the freedom is where the grass is greener. It's over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
For you to be financially free, you need to move some other place. And I think there's a few things I've not really.
So our theory on this, by the way, is that it means something different to everyone, right? So the question is, what does it mean to you?
We're going to get lots of different examples from guests over time, and that's the point of it. Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I've got with it, and then I'll maybe move into like where do I fit I sit with it. So one is the baggage of the freedom says like you need to go elsewhere, and I think it denies people of the opportunity to look at where they are today. And sometimes we want to fix this by fix things by just radically stopping what we are doing and moving into something else. And I think people need to. And it's coming back from this. This was created and introduced by Robert Kiyosaki in the 90s with his Rich Dad Poor Dad book. And the world was very, very different, 30 years ago. Like it was very common for you to have the 30, 40 years career in one place. And it seemed like this prison you set yourself. And there was no entrepreneurial opportunities. There was not much opportunities moving companies and things,
And at that point, the barrier and the cost to building a business was a lot different than it is these days, isn't it?
There was no internet, right?
Yeah.
It's also unacceptable to say the 90s was still 30 years ago, by the way, which I know it is practically, but it's unacceptable that it was that long ago, right?
It really was, yeah. So the world was very different. So people were literally a lot stockier than they are, now. So I think for me, the expression didn't age well with where we are today. And I'd rather people, rather than look for the stuff outside, like the solution is outside, the solution is elsewhere, the freedom is elsewhere. I need to unlock myself to go elsewhere. There's a lot of work people don't do like with themselves to figure out what they actually want, figure out what do they value and what can they, how did they come up to the situation they are right now and what they can do about it. And sometimes there's a lot of simple steps people can do to like maybe change career or change things. It doesn't have to be so radical to just improve where they are. And
so redefine the phrase. So let's call it. So the problem is the phrase in your mind is saying to you, it gives the impression that you have to go from A to B.
It's an external thing, but I think
Financial Freedom 2.0 by Guillaume Black.
Financial Freedom 2.0.
Go. What does it look like?
I think it's a lot more of an introspective thing. So like what do you value? What is more important to you? And a lot of these, I'm a capitalist in a way, so I'm not going to deny things, but a lot of it is driven by it is only the finance in it, but there's a lot of the balance, health. Purpose, impact, any spiritual work. There's a lot more to like financial freedom. So you call it, I don't know, some form of financial independence, but maybe it's too loaded still with the independence. I would want to remove the financial from the whole thing. And then
what would your new term be of what you're?
I'm not too.
You haven't.
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure.
I'd like to.
So it's something. It's about balance.
Yeah,
we're saying so it's not just about the monetary part. Yeah. There's health, there's wealth, there's purpose, there's life, living.
Do you think you learn those things going on some sort of journey? If we're not,
you can.
Because initially I was thinking like, I invest in property and then I'm done and I just retire and I'm happy days and I can travel around or whatever. But actually, you miss all those other things you said, like what's your health like, what's your purpose going to be, all those sort of things. And then over time you learn that those things are really, really important.
But don't get me wrong, like when I said I'm a capitalist, like the whole world is built on this grid, where we all want to improve things. If there wasn't for it, we will all be, like sharing our own piece, living in huts, because there's no incentive.
Did they do that? You live in a hut, you have to share piss. Is that what we're saying? That's those two. That's it. You live in a hut, you have to share.
I don't know, like it's like, but if there's no competitiveness, if there's no will to like for personal development, improve, and this greed of accumulating and things like that, which is the world.
Society is built on capitalism, isn't it? And you can either fight against that and have a hard life, or you can join it.
Yeah, that's right.
And try and do your best within that framework.
But and also in a way, is understanding the value of it and take it for what it is, and what else can you do around this? Because if it wasn't for this, there would be no infrastructure, there would be no hospitals. As I say, will be like, I don't know, sharing or other stuff. Like, like there's no incentive for anyone to be better than anyone else. So I fundamentally I'm more of a, on the right side, if you like, than the left side.
I hope they don't have Spotify in huts, by the way, because that's going to be really. Somebody sat in a hut going.
But similar topic.
I'm not sharing my pitch.
Similar topic to this, but slight divergence is obviously we do things because of our dopamine, but we're living in a society that it's all of these tools that steals our dopamine. So is that? Do you think that's a real threat to get people in the places that we're looking at?
I speak to people all the time who tell me they don't have time, tell me they're not happy and things like that. But then you look at their phone and it's like, look at your screen
4
time.
hours of TikTok or something.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So,
what would be great on screen time though? Because I'm the same. I look at my screen time and I've deleted some apps. So if you were friends with me on like things like Facebook, you wouldn't believe this because you can't stop our machine.
Yeah.
But I don't have the app.
Yeah. Good.
I don't have it. So somebody else does that. But so the whole point is like if you could separate because when I say screen time, like if I'm doing work on WhatsApp or something like that, which is one of our fundamental tools in business, that counts towards your screen time. So I don't, it's difficult to know how to separate.
That's the only notification I have on now is
so
WhatsApp,
I'm literally getting a phone
because
that only has that bit, and then I'll have a personal one that has that bit because I'm going back to the 2 phones. Rather than the one.
I'm looking into getting the 2 phones as well, but I'm so bad at it. So I'm so anyway in a way good, but bad for other people. So my phone doesn't ring or anything, so I don't know. So people try to ring. I don't know. Only my mom and my wife I think rings, but like you can't speak to me. Like it's you try to call me, it doesn't work.
I like your WhatsApp, which is don't send voice notes.
Yeah, I won't listen. I won't listen to any of the voice.
I need to do that because I don't listen to them because
I don't listen to voice notes. Like
we leave them all the time.
Voice notes. I don't. Well, I don't listen to yours anymore. Like when you send it to other people that I'm in groups, I don't listen to them anymore.
So the way I see it is like you didn't have the time to put your thoughts in 2 lines, so you had to wobble to me for a minute so I can figure. So I taking my time to figure out what you meant in the first place. So it's like, invest in making yourself succinct.
Yeah.
Write me the 2 lines, and I can actually look at it. I can actually look at it while maybe I'm doing something else, but I can't listen to voice notes and be on a meeting or sometimes it's okay to multitask on something,
Stop the podcast now. This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Property Filter is the #1 property tool for today's property professional. It brings in all the data points and sources from all the property portals and auction sites into one convenient place. Then you have the option to overlay all the clever strategies found in the Property Filter blueprint to find motivated sellers faster. Now, we use it on a daily basis. It saves us over 80% of our time when looking for properties. And if that sounds like something that you want in your lives, please go to register.property-filter.co.uk/PPB, which is the discount code for this podcast. You will get 2 weeks free and a discount on your first month. That's it from me. Back to the podcast.
So it's interesting though, because obviously we talk about financial freedom. So financial freedom is our headline, the Financial Freedom Podcast, which is the clickbait for the podcast, really. But what we're looking for is the freedom part. That is what we're here to do, to talk about. And I personally believe there's lots of freedoms. I don't just think it's financial. I think it's time. I think it's creativity. I think it's life. I think it's being able to choose what you do. That's the important part to me. Is I can choose what I do rather than being told what to do because I have to pay a bill.
But it's all framed into a lifestyle we got used to. So, for example, anybody can be financially free tomorrow. You go and live in some village, and and that's it.
We're going back to the huts.
You go back to the huts. Yeah. So it's like there's the old story about the Mexican fisherman. You've heard this story, right?
Yeah.
So you got the Mexican fisherman. He's going going around fishing with his little boat.
Little boat, isn't it?
He brings a few fish. Every end of the day, sells it on the market, shares it with his family. Plays the guitars in the evening, go back, works every day, like this. And then there's some like more capitalist, foreigner that comes in and says, dude, like you're sitting on a pot of gold here, like you should do this, like I'll get you some investors.
Get more boats, bigger boats.
Loads of boats. Nobody else is doing it. We get you 5 boats, you do all of that, and then you do like all of these things, all of this work and all of this entrepreneurial stuff, we're like, great, and so that you can systemize it and you could go back to having the lifestyle, do whatever you want to do, which is going fishing every day, sharing the fish with my family in the evening, So we all like most people work to pay the loan on their cars that drives them to work, you know, and stupid things like this.
Yeah.
So it's like this whole thing where we work to pay for the stuff that allows us to.
You have a car loan, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't.
Tax efficient reasons as well. Though.
Yeah. But there's this whole thing where we have overheads to maintain a way of earning, which, you know, and it just, if you want to be financially free, or you could cut down all of that, you know, with like radical lifestyle changes, you know. I decide to take my girl to like some private nursery thing and private school and things. So it's a choice, you know. I don't have, you know, I
don't have to do that.
So you've got, let's say you've got a family, you're living in the UK in an area you like, and your kids are going to school and things like that. You know, what creates your financial freedom, or is it about choice? I think a lot of it can be about choice. Do you think?
So it's there's two sides of the, like, a cash flow you get every month. There's what you earn, and there's what you spend, basically.
Yeah.
So I think people focus a lot on what they earn, but not so much about what they spend. And there's you walk the streets and you see all this money wasted on coffee, and like £4 a coffee every day.
You're going to get people's backs up here.
Oh, but it's like, go on.
Can't afford your, because it's the manifesto. You can't afford your property, Mr. Millennial, or Mr. Generation Z, because you're having Starbucks every day.
In Australia, it's having smashed Avo and for breakfast.
Yeah. It's quite a political statement.
Yeah. So I didn't know it was political, but like I don't buy coffee. Like why? You know, I'm where I am because I've been frugal. So I've got a friend, some of my very closest friends. We went out we celebrated something. They took us for dinner in some restaurant, and I paid my share. I'm not like fully tight, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so when we were talking about some old stuff, and my wife was sharing some pictures from like 4 years ago, and someone makes the comment like, "Oh, you're wearing the same top." It wasn't the hoodie, right? But some my civilian top, right? And my friend's missus goes, "Oh, I think that's why he's rich," you know.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like, oh, I think that she got it. Like,
do you track your expenditure?
So I budget with I've got an account where we put money. So as a family, so we have each our own income, which we put into the overheads account. That goes, everything is gone with the bills, the house, and all the stuff. You know, every month. This is just the overhead. And then we have a lifestyle account where it's just, this is the money that goes in for the month, and then when it's done, it's done. You know, the thing will have to wait for next month.
If you want to have the coffee, it's up to you.
Yeah,
but
you know where your budget is,
and then you play the game. You know, so it took me really a while, especially with
Weekend Millionaire. By the end of it, nothing left in my account.
Because I think
waiting for the next weekend.
I think one of the best bits of advice you can give a young adult or teenager is like, if they're thinking they can't afford to invest or buy a house or anything like that, is like, do you track your expenditure? Do you know what's going in out every month? And then do you have a target to save to then invest or whatever?
Yeah, and it can be so easy to a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and then the more money you make, the more it just expands.
Not only that, you can pay for stuff you're not even using sometimes in your accounts with whatever subscriptions and memberships or whatever.
And renegotiate.
Yeah, renegotiate.
You know, cut
it out if you're not using it. Renegotiate if you do have it, or
yeah. Okay, so we're going to move the question on. So Guillaume doesn't believe in financial freedom.
No, I do. So the idea is
we'll talk about financial freedom 2.0.
So then, of course, the idea is you get. So I don't like also passive income, you know, as a phrase, because as you know, like,
it's a bit misleading.
Well, let's talk about question 3 then, because question 3 is going to help you define that a little bit more. So question 3 is, what strategies are you using to achieve your freedom goals? I've missed out the word financial. Yeah. And we're talking about, obviously you've got the business, but we're talking about the other strategies as well. What have you done, and what's been most effective?
So I think there's a lot. I think I go back to the wealth hierarchy, which is for me was a bigger eye opener. So you start with your cash flow, the excess, or then you move into profit, and then you move into assets. Everybody gets into property because they want they sold.
We'll talk about that at a moment, because I think it's huge, right? I think the wealth hierarchy. So
I live by this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have 3 levels to this, and the thing that people confuse is you might have assets in your life, but they're only contributing to your cash flow, your first. Your first goal, which is your cash flow goal, right? Which is your cash flow. They're not necessarily your assets. So So talk about that in a bit more detail if you would, because I think it's really important.
So yeah, very much. So going back to this conversation with Daniel Priestley, we said, we're all sitting on it. I'm looking for a cash flow business to get out of my job. Like I spent 10 years in this company, and it's like I'm at a crossroad. I've been lying to myself. Like actually, I've had the HMOs, the singlets, and it's all over the shop on this wealth hierarchy model. So I need this bottom layer. I need this this foundation level, of cash flow. And if you find, and then again, we studied success. Everyone who's going really far in property, it all sits on some form of cash flow business, and it's
as the foundation.
And the foundation, yeah. So it's like, and some people are just they have very highly paid jobs, right?
Yeah.
They have highly paid jobs. Maybe they want to reduce because of the stress and the lack of balance. But at the end of the day, like, don't replace this with being a rent-to-rent operator, right? And
well, you're not going to do that overnight, are you?
Yeah, I know. But some people are so fed up with it's again this idea of the grass is greener elsewhere. I want to leave my big corporate career over here and screw all of that, and I'm going to be a rent-to-rent guy over there, and then you end up like really it's kind of it's not an evolution, right? So again, I would say to this where it's an internal work, like introverted, like a inward work to understand what is your flow, what is it you really enjoy, what did you good at, and what could be your unfair advantage in terms of bringing something to the marketplace. And I think it's a lot of it is more business skills. I would like if you think rent to rent or letting agency, all this stuff that are in property, rent to rent is sold as this like no barrier to entry strategy. Everybody can get into it, but
it's sold as easy entry level, isn't it? Because you don't necessarily have a huge amount.
The barrier to entry is you, right?
But the reality is huge, yeah. To make it work, because so if you think any idiot can go and buy a property, so any idiot with a bit of capital can buy a property, put a tenant in it, make a mortgage application, complete on it, put a tenant in it, and then somehow it will work,
Yeah.
But this is you need the capital, to get in there. And then the rent-to-rent is sold as this, easy starter thing. But the skill you need to make this work are, like with all due respect, you're not going to move from being at the till, at some shops to being like the business owner of a compliant multi-unit.
Yeah, because some people are really successful in business, but a lot of it is because of the systems and the business side of it. They do really well. And like you're saying, if you're coming from a job or you're not educated to build that business with those sort of systems, it can be very busy.
And so I think you probably want, if you are like like in a not necessarily the best job in the world or by other people's standards or something, or maybe there's low progression you can have in it. So you want to maximize your income in some way. So start by maximizing your income, and it can be like from your own job, own industry. I would look at this first. The grass is greener where you water it, rather than looking to escape. That's the first thing. But if your job has like little margins for you to go there, you probably want to stack some business skills. So it's understanding about marketing, copy, sales, and creating a really good product, a really good offer, which are different things. And it's a skill. It took me like years and years and years to sort of master these things. And it's underrated. Like it's the most underrated thing. Is be really clear about all these things there. And so what we're doing, so cash flow, property filter is my salary, and the game is to make it profitable. So we loss making still, so we don't turn a profit at the end of the month.
Don't tell your shareholders. It's the annual statement.
Yeah, and the shareholders, they get updates every quarter. Like they know it's the game. You raise money, and then it's a J curve. It's again, Daniel Priestley talks about the J curve. Like a restaurant is a J curve. You invest, like on day one, you spend more on your
Heavy
kitchens and all the stuff. And then what you get is a few people spending 20 quid on meals and stuff. And it's the number of these that build up this J curve. So you need to cross the gap and the desert. So all businesses start with you need some investment of some sort, right? So I'm not a big believer in like no money down anything, because you always need to pay for something. And if anything, you need to pay for your own skills, if it's buying books or going to seminars and stuff.
Well, if you're looking at doing no money down, you need to be trained.
You need to be like
properly,
good at it,
right? So the investment is in you.
Yeah.
Then you're talking tens of thousands of pounds.
You might have 20 or 30,000 pounds of investment in yourself to get to a point that you could do that.
Yeah, and then
to a decent level.
And then we can comment on that as well. I think there's some good courses that can teach you that. But I think people say, should I buy all these books and study? Like what I mean study is sit for it 3 hours a day, study, like have a structure about it, and then change yourself over like
Notes.
Should I do all this work, or should I pay this thing, which is maybe 10, 15 grand, and it's all going to happen for me automatically? People have this thing where they think buying this thing is going to give them it's like the silver bullet, and then they forget that they still need to do the work, right? So I think there's a lot. So I'm really not advocating like binge watching YouTube. I think that's too many people are sick, become like really sick about this. And we talked about dopamine, and that's not a place you want to be. You want to be a student, not a consumer. Like it's quite
targeted watching of YouTube.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, make some notes.
Take
some nuggets away, implement them, then go and watch the next one.
Yeah, next one next week, right? Yeah, you don't need to.
And I think what your point is there, if you're going to pay for education and books and look at YouTube, it's a combination of all those things, but ultimately you have to do the work and take the action and execute.
And to do work on yourself, you have to grow yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I was coaching one of my team member on the way up there, and I said to him, look, the standard I work by because we value grow. Do you value grow? You sure you want to grow, right? So I'm telling you this how it works for me. So I want to look at myself 12 months ago and be embarrassed about who I was, what I was doing, the stuff I was involved with. Yeah. And just like, this is it's
the sales videos and stuff that come up on your reminders and things like that, where you've got your anniversary of a sales video or a marketing video that you've done 12 months ago.
Oh yeah.
And it comes up and you're like, oh God, cringing. Your stuff today is much better.
Yeah, we've leveled up. I see that on Facebook, like YouTube, one year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, there's no other journey, right? So and then for me, and we talked about the charity work we did, and it's all like nothing can beat the actual doing. So you can binge watch all you want, nothing will beat actually doing the work. And some of the work is academic. I think it's like you can organize your thoughts, on paper and notes. And I think this is a lot more, valuable and constructive than, sitting around passively watching stuff. You want to be an active learner. That's really a big lesson for me.
So strategy, cash flow is now your business. Where does your property portfolio sit?
The property sits on the assets. So they are
even your HMOs.
Yeah.
See, that's really interesting because I don't class them as that.
Yeah. So where do you put them? So
I put them in cash flow.
Yeah. So I don't draw money from it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's how you would define your cash flow, is just because I draw money.
Cash flow be lifestyle. So I don't draw money from them, and because I've got the energy, the partner, so Andy's looking after most of the HMOs and it's doing really, really well.
It's a good point, actually, because this probably relates back to what you're thinking. HMOs, people say it's cash flow because it's busy and noisy.
Yeah.
It can be fairly quiet if managed well, outsourced well, systemized.
Yeah.
Or it can be if you're self-managing and you're the landlord and you're fixing the leak. It can be very, very busy. So it does vary quite a bit.
It's the right thing for the right people, right? So I class it as a cash flow asset. Not necessarily because I draw from it, because we do draw from it, but it goes into another account and it sits there until I'm ready to buy another property, right? It's not that I draw from it, but I class it as a cash flow asset. And my definition of it is my asset classes are the things I'm going to pass down to my children.
Yeah.
I ain't going to pass a HMO.
I'm not going to pass
selling it. No, I'm selling it. So for me,
Yeah.
It's here and now. It's a cash flow asset that will eventually become a profit asset, and then hopefully the profit from that asset will become an asset.
Yeah, but the good thing about the cash flow asset, the HMO, there is a value in it. Yeah. And like you said, you can, if you're going to sell it, we might sell ours instead of giving it down to our children or whatever. But then it can go into that complete asset section, that generational wealth, can't it?
Yeah.
Whereas a rent to rent, as an example, you're not owning it, you're just getting cash flow. You might spend a lot of time. It's very, very different, I think.
So let's move on. So let's talk about, so your strategy is cash flow, property.
Yeah, cash flow business.
Assets. You've got assets already. HMOs, your properties.
HMOs.
What's profit?
The idea is that one property filter becomes profitable.
You take profit.
It's taking profits to buy and go and buy more
assets. So the plan is to continue to buy assets.
Yeah.
But at the moment you're in a bit of
and what you're saying is you've invested a lot in the business and the software, etc. So you're not pulling the profit yet because of that huge investment.
Yeah, we've put 2 million into property filter so far.
Yeah.
It's been quite something. And also I think in an industry where, especially after COVID, there's been a lot of people who've built some tech stuff in their garages or in their bedroom, and I'm very much I've learned that it's a build or die. It's there's only going to be one Amazon, right? Yeah. And I want to outwork everyone. So today I know I've got the resources, and then the capital, the human capital, because we've got training the team has been a huge learning for me. Like, like there's been people who've been with us 6 months, 1 year. They are doing it. It takes 6 months for like a developer to be really like good and operational. So it's huge investments. Like these are on better salaries than I used to be, right? So I'm paying people more than I had on a very good job. So that's
and in fairness, with it being a tech business, there are other companies who proclaim they do some of what you do. But nobody does what you do, but you have first mover advantage. But the problem really with first mover advantage to build a platform like yours that does everything that you do is that other people will look at that and go, how do I do this as well better? So if you stand still,
you're dead.
You are dead in the water.
So we had to learn this, because again, in this journey, we talked about journaling at the start. You think, we're going to do this, going to make 200K a year. The 2-3 of us, going to be set for life, right? Passive income, right? You ever only have like
2 million invested, you make your losses every month. You have a valuation.
That's right. Okay. But you ever have 6 months advance, and we've been copied left, right, and center as well. Because the stuff.
So who are your main competitors then?
Let's say like I think the main one is really Rightmove.
That's what I thought straight away. I'm like, is that the right? Are they actually competitive? Because they're more about the retail.
People obsess about similar solutions, in our space. But in reality, the biggest competitor are people's mindset, people's limiting belief about what they can achieve in property, and the way where they used to go on Rightmove and copy pasting stuff in spreadsheets. And it's this big
free,
habit.
isn't it? Ultimately, that's the thing. You can transfer that data to a spreadsheet, but
what's the cost of your time and the cost of not
your
getting the
success curve or your J curve is just in proportion to the success of all other investors.
The way that I look at it is if I'm spending 2 hours a week on Rightmove or Zoopla, right, I am or having a membership with Property Filter, even though we've got a grandfather membership. If I bought it today, the way I look at this is I am paying myself as business owner and the person trying to live that less than minimum wage. Because that's the time that's being cut out. It's going to be, if it's 2 hours.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, is Property Filter worth it? The current subscription? And I just say, if you do one deal in the next 10 or 15 years, it's paid for itself. By more, isn't it? Like it's an absolute no-brainer from that.
I just don't understand why. I don't understand how it's not an automatic. But then my mindset might be different.
If you pay the
I'm not willing to sit there and Rightmove for 2 hours a week.
But if someone buys or pays the subscription, it doesn't do anything. It's completely useless to them because they haven't done anything.
So because you're actually doing deals, but most people don't know the cost of actually not finding deals. So they think, Rightmove is free, and but then they don't see they don't value their own cost, their own time, right?
Well, Rightmove, they're not stupid people, right? They're a big tech company, and they're dopamine driven. They're stealing your, they want the properties on there. They want to get the advertising. They want people to stop in on Rightmove. They want you to stop there. They want the shiny pages. They're doing the same things that Facebook do or that LinkedIn do. They want people to spend time on their platform so they can show their shareholders, look how great we are.
But it's interesting.
They still need to get properties sold, but not necessarily.
Not really.
No,
I don't care. No.
Really.
So when it's interesting you talk about Facebook and stuff. When a product is free, you are the product.
Right? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
So
time is your
who pays Rightmove, right? So they're the agents. So the big features for Rightmove is the
so the more time you spend on it, the more
is the value is you go and you fill the form for the valuation, and these are lead magnets to the agents come in.
Right.
But also agents pay like $2,500 a month for Rightmove, right? So it's huge.
Yeah,
so
how do take the market?
How do they justify this? It's the footfall. It's the fact that you and I spend lots of time on it. Like I don't go on Rightmove, right? But like investors and homeowners and stuff go and watch property porn Saturday night on Rightmove. Like just scroll and scroll, bottle of wine. We know like people do this, especially property people. They just love it. And then you spend a lot of time on there and it just builds their analytics on the footfall.
Listen, our property acquisition consultant does it. And she literally sits on, so she'll sit there for us doing what we wanted to do. And then on Saturday, she'll go on to Rightmove.
I was going to say, the only time I spend on Rightmove is my wife goes on it and looks at other properties in our area and then sends them to me.
Sends them to
it's
my son.
Property porn, right?
Yeah. Anyway.
And so that's the thing. So it's not built for you to find your deal or
No,
whatever.
it's not a deal platform.
It's built so that you spend a lot of time, so that when it's time for every agent to renew their $2,500 a month, hey, great news! In the last 28 days, the last 31 days or whatever, you've had 16,232 unique session for an average of 14 minutes. Isn't that great? People are watching your stuff. So we are the product every time we go on it. It's just building up the footfall.
I don't have the Right Move app.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, for that reason, again.
I haven't deleted it, but I do not use it.
Yeah. Right. So, we're clear on the strategies you're going for. So your asset class is the top. You're going to generate profit through your business, and when it starts making good money, which we expect it to, it's a good platform.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to move on. That's okay. So, question 4: what does a typical day look like for you?
Typical day. So I'll get up around 6 or before 6, and I'd have some like procrastinating planning time. So it's kind of my free time.
First thing.
So it's kind of like ideation, journaling, research of something, summarizing, planning. So it's kind of I don't put too much structure into this, so I come up with like
playing.
I'm sort of playing ideas, taking notes, and writing little frameworks and things. Some of it are for the team, for the business. Some of it are for some of the content and things we build it inside the membership for our members. I just have this sort of discovery time.
Yeah.
And then my daughter wakes up around 7 or something like that. So we spend a bit of time together. I cook breakfast. 7:45, I take her to the nursery. She started full time just last week. And then I go back home. I walk to the office. 8:30, I'm in the office until 6. Do like property filter stuff for growing the business and things. Taking meetings, coaching the team, speaking with some of the customers. Trying to improve like all the different aspects of things, from product, all the different aspects of things we work. At 6, I shut everything down. I walk back home. I've got like family time until 8 when the daughter goes to bed, and then I've got a bit of a wind down time with the missus, and I'm trying to be in bed by 9.
Yeah, very good. So that's
so I change every sort of quarter with seasons. So now schools came, the nursery is open again. So there's like a structure in the morning, and therefore I try to structure the evening. And I tend to wake up same times on the weekend. So like if maybe an hour later, like 7, I'm up. Like Saturday, Sunday, I'm.
Do you have an alarm, or is it natural wake up?
So very recently, I put back the alarm because I not have an alarm for a while because the baby would wake up. Like
That's what I haven't had an alarm for.
Never needed it. And then towards the end of the summer holidays, she was getting up later and later. So and I was like 8 o'clock, hell, so I've just put it.
But then you have another one, and then they get up earlier. So
and then as soon as you put the alarm, they wake up earlier, right? So she still wakes me up before. So I've got this thing with this light, the Philips. It's like a light.
I have,
sunrise alarm.
That's what I've got as well.
I've got the same. I don't use it at the moment though, because my alarm clock is my dog shaking.
Yeah,
it's I don't hear a dog shaking, and
the dog stayed downstairs in my house. Not on the bed.
Very good.
And in this, so you're saying season, so like autumn, is it more?
No, it's like whatever it is. It's whatever.
It's school related.
I'm not necessarily structured around the. Yeah. So I used to be very regimented around quarters.
Yeah.
And it seems everything takes longer than I like it to be. So we kind of have a thing in the company where it's like every 4 months. So January to April to August, and then September to the end of the year. Yeah. It's just the nature of different things. It seems like we finish projects around this time, so there's like more things to close and different theme to start. And it
sales
seems
is better in summer, that kind of stuff in general for most businesses.
Yeah, it's like we tend to like work on what's the biggest problem at hand. So it doesn't necessarily. We have an underlying theme where in the autumn we sort of slow down and we think about what's the big idea for next year. And it's more of an alignment work for the team. And then beginning of the year in winter, which lasts 4 months and maybe 6 sometimes, it's very much investing heavily in the back end of the software. So it's not the sexy seasons for the members, because it's like all the infrastructure things that make it work on the like the hidden part of the iceberg, right? And we move into summer, and it's like a feature fest. It's like feature, cool stuff.
You've had so many different things come out this summer, I have to say.
Yeah, summer being really
I'm struggling to keep up. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got every couple of weeks we'll have some really cool release now. So until the end of the year. So
looking forward to it.
Very good.
And we just find December, January, and middle of summer just harder to find deals generally, don't we? But
yeah, just middle of December. I'm like, I also try and find a bit of downtime.
Yeah.
So question 5 then, which is success and failure.
Right.
What are you most proud of, and what's been your biggest challenge?
I think I'm probably most proud of being a dad, if I'm honest. I think you don't realize until you're dad, like, or you
it's a different world, isn't it?
And I think it's this like there's unconditional life, like you actually give for the first time, like it's not quite the same. And like people talk about what is success to me, and a lot of it can be it's why I'm putting a lot of the financial stuff out. So there's a lot you can do, but there's a lot you cannot do again. You can always pick yourself up and make some more money, and there's always things like that. But I think this is giving me a lot of purpose. Like, and I think anybody with kids will relate
to cherish the moments, while they're young and throughout their life. Yeah,
and it's some of the lifestyle adjustments I've made on that. So for example, for me, like, success is very simple. So I walk to the office. I wake up. I'm the one to wake up my daughter. To pick her up. Put her down, give her, like, drop her to school in the morning, so to the nursery, and my wife picks her up in the evening, and I walk to the office. I get to walk to the office. And I used to hate the commute and fucking.
It's funny you say that, because I do the exact same thing. I've got an office I share, which one of the privileges I feel is that I can just walk. It's about a 15-minute walk down the road as well.
So that's really much been like my success, and then that's it. Like we don't have like lavish holidays, or we're quite
frugal. I think the word is
frugal. Yeah.
And what about challenges?
So I think by all people look at Property Filter like it's been an incredible thing to watch and so on, but it's hard work, and I can't really call it a success, like it's losing well into the 5 figures every month, It's just by the nature of the J curve, right? But it's a bit nerve-wracking. So it's just but I love it, right? So I think you need to pick your battles and pick your challenges. And again, I've decided that this was the situation I was gonna design and engineer my way into, and now I need to go through it, right? But it's very much
it's the nature of a tech business, right? Until the platform is absolutely A-star finished, you're going to lose money every month, aren't you? And people don't realize that.
I think it's not really, there's no correlation. There's not so much correlation. It's just, we raised a lot of money like last year.
Yeah.
I could have taken it easy, set the same pace, but we put ourselves in this situation every time, where we break even, so we're in a good place to,
So what are your key yearly metrics then? Is it amount of users and subscribers?
Yeah, it's number of subscriber, MRR, so which is monthly recurring revenue, and which is a big metric the VCs and investors and people look at, and then EBITDA, so it's like basically your profit, which is negative. But these are like the main metrics. Or when I sit on our board now, I need to give accounts basically and stuff to our investors, and this is the stuff they look at, right?
Yeah.
And then things like trial conversion, churn, new trials. These are more like the front end stuff.
Yeah. It starts becoming about numbers, though, doesn't it? When you get to a certain level, it stops being a lifestyle business. It starts becoming about the metrics. And
but you can keep. So I think it's still quite a small scale. If you think so, the investors we have on board, they're really like founder friendly and things. So yeah, it's quite okay. We're not in a place where I'm gonna get sacked by my board and things. Like we still have a.
Please don't. It's too integral to our business. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and you see that as a key challenge. You see but this isn't. You don't see it as a failure, though. Surely.
No, nothing. So I don't think anything is a failure. Like you need to. So we have a mantra in the company, which is we win or we learn, right?
Yeah, nice. I like that.
So we win or we learn. It's written on the wall, so. And you have to have sometimes. I have to have challenging conversations with the team who cock up something somewhere, and then it's like we win or we learn, and then all of a sudden.
Challenges and setbacks, isn't it, is a way to term it? Because I think, a failure is something, let's say your company's gone bust or something, and it's, that is sort of a failure in a way.
Yeah, but
the rest of it's just challenges. And
every
setbacks.
failure is a blessing in disguise. Every failure makes you who you like. You fast forward a couple of years, 5 years. You are here because of all.
Yeah,
of,
your
all
lessons
of that,
learned, and then what you do
Yeah,
after.
some of the parts, aren't you? There's some of the parts that have happened.
So
Absolutely.
So I think it's a mindset thing. Like you can't beat yourself up because a million reasons, right? But there's no failure in my vocabulary. But don't get me wrong. We've had setbacks,
Setbacks,
and challenges and things. So, but it's we will or we learn, and it's just this mind. I don't know. I can't put a failure tag on anything I can think, and even some of the difficult times in my life or business life or things like that. I can't really think of. And I can't really put them into failures and things, but the whole thing is a challenge, right? The whole thing is I'm a masochist, right? And the rest of the company culture is a bit like this, where let's burn the boats, and it's and we do it all the time. Every 6 months, every year, we could take it easy. We just go and burn
I'm in the
boat.
black, spend it on something, basically.
Yeah. I'm in the black. Let's hire another 5 people, right? And it's great. We do it all the time, right? So.
Good stuff. So just to finish, if that's good, we're going to ask you questions. We do this again, and we'd ask you to leave a question for our next guest, if you would. So previous guest question to you. How different do you think the world will be in 10 years' time? How does this affect your decision-making today?
Right. So I think we can have optimist and pessimist views on things. So I'm probably a little bit pessimist about the world, but in the same time, I've got some optimism and hope. So on the pessimist side, I think, and then if we apply it to property, I think anyone I don't believe in the student market. So for example, I did a master's degree in something I wasn't really passionate about, but for the etiquette of the degree, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people doing this, and then you'll find a lot of people just end up, finding their way into schools and some degree. So I was so poorly ranked, I had the shittest option, of something I'd never touched.
I was saying, I did a degree, I don't use it, basically.
Am I fairly rare then? Because I did construction management and still.
Well, I did use it for a bit, but I didn't use it for very long.
And then this was so niche. If you are passionate about it, you could be ace, But then if I would have gone out and seek work in this field, it'd be oh, you got the etiquette for it, great, and then turn out to be shit, right?
Yeah.
And then I think this is happening at such a scale where people in other countries or maybe not as developed countries, they don't have access to the traditional education, but there will be kids that are passionate about stuff, and they'll be denied these access to universities. They'll be denied the jobs that are linked to these degrees. And they're passionate about it, so they'll have no choice but to start their own stuff,
Yeah.
And I think all of this will scale quite a lot, devalue the value of degrees, and
you see it already. The conversation is already being had, which is the funding for certain types of degrees. That's been a conversation already in the UK. Which
there's certain degrees that you actually need to do that job.
Yeah.
The example could be a doctor or a solicitor, an accountant, or something like that. Whereas lots of others, and that's a small percentage of the degrees out. The rest of them, you could use it or not use it, couldn't you? I mean,
or it could be a vocational qualification. It doesn't have to be university attended. It could be could be taught on the job, or it could be taught better in some other environment.
I think with that, there's for me the hope is that the culture will change for the kids to be more not pushed into stuff, but maybe a bit
more creative. You think is
maybe not so much put into boxes and things, and maybe they'll have more opportunity to expand around what they like. And
I think AI will have a big impact as well, to be honest with you, because if you think about the culture of a university, why they've lasted so long, and why they're still lasting, is because of that. You have to learn here.
Yeah,
you have to come here to learn. I don't think that's a thing anymore.
I mean, it's all available.
You don't have to. Everything's available.
It's all available,
already. And that was only from 1990 to when Tim Berners decided to turn on the World Wide Web or whatever it was. It was.
Yeah, and then the key is making sure you're learning the right stuff, because obviously the web and AI can have a huge amount of information. It's deciphering as to what is true and what isn't. Sometimes is more of the challenge.
And I think that's interesting with the property and things. So for me, student market, I wouldn't put my retirement money into it.
Yeah.
And then same thing with like warehouse workers and things like that, So I think, if you say within the next 10 years, I think within the next less than that, 3 years, there'll be bots, robots in the running around the factory instead of all the other guys, in there. So like at a massive scale, and they'll be huge.
Well, that's not new, by the way, because obviously the industrial manufacturing has been.
Yeah. But what's new is like humanoid people who sit in the workplace,
right?
Who are trained by some huge
robots.
Robots, like actual robots, like check out like humanoid robots.
I did a thing about what happens when the robots take over.
2024. So they, like NVIDIA, like this big chip company. So they're creating a virtual platform for all the bots of all the manufacturers to virtually trained. So if you think like what you're describing, like these were programming work. So if this, then when the sensor hits the end, stops, and all the movements were like limited within code. Now they are there. If you think all these robots, AI brains are plugged into these virtual worlds, and they're training to trip over shit, right?
Right.
And if you look, their movements are a lot more natural because it's not like if this then that, and
they're learning from each other.
They're learning from tripping inside a virtual, like if you think like a virtual world, right?
University for bots.
Yeah. And so now they'll fit more into a lot of the factory environment. I don't know how much when it will come to construction. I think because it's always 20 years behind, but it's outside the scope of your question.
Yeah.
But certainly all the warehouse,
it's coming, but
factory stuff.
I mean, I'd be very surprised if it was the next 10 years.
And then on the back of that, I think we'll have to take really big, as a society, we'll have to really think hard on, like some form of like universal income or something like
Absolutely. that. It was part of the conversation before Boris Johnson.
When the job market transitions.
The whole
quite
point of this
quickly.
is to make it better for people, right? To make it less toil, to make the human race toil less, more purpose, less toil, and that's the whole point of it. So, like you said, universal income or minimum income. That was what was being discussed before Bojo got in, and it was already on a platform. People were talking about
so
it.
One of the big challenges maybe then, if that warehouse job's replaced and that person's on the universal income, do they almost completely lose their purpose? What's their
So this is where there's the hope and the horror, overlaps in my head. So because I'm very much into like seek like inwards, rather than out. We talked about this theme a few times, right? And what a great opportunity! Like if you can like figure out who you're meant to be and have the time to not stop running around. I woke up at like 30-ish, like thinking like, the fuck am I doing? And I had to do all this work, and I feel very I got to do all this work.
Right, so it gives people the opportunity to think about their purpose and what they can do with their life.
Yeah, and I wish it to everyone. But the problem is people are, again, dopamines and the distraction. So like, do you get your time back to spend more time scrolling on stuff and be more addicted to shit? Or do you...
I mean, that is definitely where it's going.
Or somehow you've got the culture and the environment where it's acceptable and encouraged for you to do more inner work and discover yourself and answer the big questions you have, and it's really interesting. You can
so the positive things or the opportunities for the people that can encourage people to think outside the box and think about themselves and what they want and their purpose and things like that.
And then it's breaking. There's a lot of cultural stuff. Like men are providers. And, like there's a lot of stuff. Where you can find purpose in lots of different ways. If you have an impact. And you can be really. I would love for a world where people are really, really good at a craft. I'm. I don't know. I bend cables and whatever. Like people have got like a passion of some sort, and then they become even greater.
There will be a market for human-produced products. Which is there will be, and it'll be craft-based. I think that's a good thing. I think that is going to come.
There's cool. It's well uncertain. But there's. I think. I would love for people to awake more, like have this the opportunity for there be like a more of a
purpose that's not driven by salary, to pay bills. That would be
that is a huge positive if that can be achieved. Yeah.
Right then. So your part done. You get to ask us a question. That's the final part of the podcast. So you get.
Yeah. So I was wondering what Tim, what's the what's your biggest sort of lesson in the last 12 months around doing lots of deals for other people?
Right. So I think for us, one of the big lessons learned is being very clear So we have clients that basically what we do is, I think you roughly know them all, but we bring in clients. We do 2 deals a month, and we book people in, and then as soon as their time comes, we go out and find a deal that's a set agreed criteria. So it's about expectation and agreeing the criteria up front. You know, what funds are available, what's your company, what sort of deal you want, and what sort of purpose. So then when the time comes, we're basically ready to move at that deal. And then when we find the deal, we're putting offers in, we've got everything we need to move, you know, from that client. You know, we've got their proof of funds, we've got their company name, we've done an AML check and all those sort of things. So, because we talk about all the time, with property, at times it could be really slow, but the times that it matters, you have to move really fast to get the good deals. So because we're doing it on behalf of someone else, we always have to have everything ready to go in that circumstance. And the other key thing is managing expectation from the outset, understanding who your client is and what they want to achieve and why and things like that. Because
we say no more than we say yes.
So we are invitation only, because we either someone we can tell won't work with us or their expectations aren't right.
And is that a lesson? Like what's changed? Like if you look at, you know, a year ago, what would you tell yourself like a year ago?
I think being really solid on that. The one thing that you changed this as well, which is now it's because it's somebody who is ready to go, and we charge them earlier now, don't we?
Yes, that's a good point. So one of the key lessons learned there is that we used to basically sign people, as we do now, would sign them up, but they would sign a T's and C's, but they weren't committed from a monetary perspective. So we had a few occasions where we get to the month, they booked in maybe 4 months, 3 months ahead, 4 months ahead. We get to the time, we go, all right, we're ready to go now. And they go, I'm sorry, I can't go, I don't have the funds.
Yeah.
Whereas now what we do, we have a commitment fee that pays to book them in. They're signed up, and we haven't had an issue with anyone's funds. And we're quite clear, it's like, you provide us proof of funds, so we know they're ready to go. So it's just having that process in place. We do guarantee that fee. So if we don't do what we're supposed to, it gets paid back. So it's guaranteed from their perspective. But it's just that layer of commitment
keeps everyone sharp, doesn't it?
Keeps everyone sharp, and they've got everything ready to go. We've got everything ready to go, and the deal happens. You just like you said, what's the ingredients of success for us? It's those key things.
Yeah, that's cool. Phil, so maybe that's one for the next guest. That can be the same question.
All right, okay.
It's like, what do people assume about you that's inaccurate or incorrect or that's wrong?
What is about me that people assume? You know, I don't think people take a lot of time to think about this, actually, because I'm kind of self-aware.
Yeah.
So I know I'm quite a big guy, right? So you don't realize, like, sometimes you see yourself in photos and you think, oh, you know, I'm quite a big guy. So I'm 17 stone, I'm 6'1", so I'm quite imposing.
Same as me.
Yeah, same as me. So I'm quite imposing as an individual. I'm very aware of this. And a lot of people assume that I'm quite direct, and that directness can sometimes be anything other than trying to get from A to B, if you like, so to as quickly as possible. And it can sometimes, it's like a lack sensitivity. And when you add in somebody who's 6'1" and 17 stone and can be quite direct and, you know, can come across quite blunt, it sometimes comes across as maybe I'm being I don't want to say, what's the word that's not arrogant, but, you know, it's not, it's like, comes across as I'm being overly direct almost at times. But it's actually, there's a sensitivity issue to it as well. So, because I am a person who has been driven by sales, so I have 18 years sort of corporate sales as a career. But actually, from a sensitivity perspective, what you don't realize is I'm probably more sensitive to how people are feeling, and to you know, people around me, and that affects me more than you would probably guess. So, you know, when I have to do things, you know, as a business owner, perhaps I have to have a difficult conversation. I have to have, you know, a challenging conversation or something like that. That can affect me for an entire weekend. You know, it can literally distract me to the point of, you know, where my wife actually sits and says, "Stop! You know, you're doing all the right things." You know, and that's what, you know, sometimes that doesn't come across. Because, and I'm self-aware about that, you know, because I am a reasonably large human.
It's the external image, or
because I can
to the inside.
I can stand in front of people. I can talk. I'm reasonably that's it. Confident, not arrogant. You know, confident, but I'm willing to listen. And I always sort of like have that sort of self-awareness that, I'm trying to encourage people at the same time. I'm probably one of the most positive people in that. If you ever have a one-to-one with me, you'll come out feeling great about it. That's the one thing that people say.
I think you're quite an open person, open to feedback, but people don't realize that because of your size and your direct nature and stuff like that. Some people do.
I might not agree with
a bit
you,
more,
but I want your feedback anyway. That's the thing. Is I might say I don't really agree.
It's all right. I give you feedback. You give me feedback.
But it's that. I think that's the number one thing is that I'm not sensitive to how other people are in the environment. And when I used to do a thing called 360 feedback, and that was probably something that came across then, which made me self-aware of it now, which is helpful. It is helpful because blind spots are blind spots. You don't know they're there. So that's probably the one thing I would take away, which is I would say is. That is the thing that people don't realize is I'm always trying to understand, what can help you, and that's the thing. It's a sensitivity towards other people that people don't think that maybe I have, which is untrue. I don't know whether I've answered the question, but there you go.
Yeah. So I think it's a good question for the next guest.
Yeah, lovely. We'll write that down. Lovely. Right then. So there we have it. So I'll just like to finish by saying that was great. We've gone way over time once again. So if anyone stuck to the end, then
well, very high value conversation.
Very high value. We'll get some good content out of it. But yeah, thank you very much, Guillaume. And we'll thank you very much, and we'll see everybody in the next one.
Appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. If you want to get in touch with us about today's podcast or any of the learning topics that we've gone through today, you can email us at podcast@invest-prop.co.uk or get in touch with us with whichever your social media platform of choice is. If you think you would add value to us as a guest on this podcast, you can please get in touch and let us know what you would be able to talk to us about. Other than that, we wish you well on your financial freedom journeys. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.